Hi, I'm Jim Watson, founder and president of Arc-Zone. Welcome to my shop. Let's talk about power cables and hoses. One thing to keep in mind is there's a big difference in the type of materials that's used in welding power cables and hoses. For example, we have a material that's shown here, which is a PVC, which is a plastic material. Now this is a good general purpose, low cost material, but you can just imagine plastic and heat don't really mix. So again, these are low cost, but they do burn very easily. This is an example of another TIG power cable that it's a rubber material with a Dacron overbraiding over the outside of it. That does two things. It's extremely flexible, and the Dacron overbraiding protects the hose from the heat and keeps it from swelling up and bursting under pressure. There's an additional hose material, which is a mono cable, essentially. It's a mandrel built hose. In other words, the hose is built on a piece of steel tubing, so it's exact size on the inside. That's important for a TIG cable because you want to maintain the water or gas flow around the cable. You want to make sure that that is consistent throughout the cable. So a mandrel built hose is a must. That is it's a very expensive process, and that's why when you look at TIG cables, some of them are very expensive compared to others. This is a reinforced hose, so it has an ID rubber material, an overbraiding, and then a molded jacket. This is a really good heavy-duty cable for outdoor use. There's an additional type of cable which is called a two-piece cable. This is an example of a two-piece cable. Essentially it uses a covered welding cable and then a separate gas hose. At Arc-Zone.com we prefer the rubber cables. As I said, they're much more durable and heat resistant than the vinyl. One of the things to keep in mind when you pick a power cable is the manufacturer. And again, on the outside they all look the same. There may be different colors, red for water return or power. Some hoses are blue for water return depending upon the manufacturer, and then there is just a standard black hose. It's very important to get a cable that has no carbon black in the makeup of the material. Again, a TIG power cable uses high frequency to start the arc. That high frequency travels down through the power cable, and if you use a carbon black cable, just a low cost cable, that arc energy will actually transmit through the power cable into the operator's hand or anything close to that. So that's a little bit about the cable material itself. Let's talk about what you can't see, and that's the internal construction of the cable, which is very important. I have here a bag of fittings that we cut off of a bunch of power cables that were sent in to us. And of course, we had a rush order that we had to get out. We bought the power cables from a reputable manufacturer, sent them in, and they didn't pass flow test. I called the manufacturer and they said they've been making them the same way they always have. This is an example of the cables that we cut off, and they weren't terminated properly. They actually, whoever put these fittings on, terminated the fittings to where it completely closed off the air and water flow. So that would have been a defective cable if we would have shipped that. This is an example of a properly terminated cable. Another thing when you talk about material is the type of cable itself. Now all TIG water-cooled and plasma arc welding water-cooled cables should be tin coated. Again, you've got electrical current traveling through the cable and water to keep it cool. Those two together, basically, you get corrosion. And it happens really quick. And it can cause problems when that patina, that corrosion material, breaks loose and circulates through your system. It can plug the small water passages and restrict the water flow and overheat your torch. The other thing about the cable that determines, a high quality cable from a low cost cable, and again, you can't see this from the outside, that's the type of material and the way it's manufactured. This particular cable is a very tightly woven rope lay cable, and you can see it's got memory. If you twist the cable apart, it snaps right back in place. It's extremely flexible. This is a very high quality cable. Again, if you look at the cables that we had the issue with the crimping, these are very cheap cables, and you can see how the cable just unravels. What that does inside the tube, where you can't see it, it causes restrictions in the water flow. It also will cause you variations in your amperage. So hopefully we've given you some more information about power cables, what they're made of, the differences between the single piece, the one piece, the vinyl, the rubber, the internal construction, and how important that is to the quality and performance. I'm Jim Watson with Arc-Zone.
If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call. If you're in the U.S., our toll-free number is 800-944-2243. Our worldwide number is 760-931-1500. We're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Our web store is open 24/7 at www.Arc-Zone.com.